Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Cam of the Big Bad Beetle Bros and Stronger Than Before, a Zeo Rewatch podcast. And today we are diving into the first ever Beetle Bros Investigation. In this series, we'll do a deep dive into lost media, obscure connections, and other mysteries involving Saban's Big Bad Beetleborgs and Beetleborgs Metallics. We may even dive into some Juku Beefighter and Beefighter Kabuto mysteries, if we feel like it. In this first investigation, we travel to Charterville Lake to uncover the wet and wild history of the Charterville Charlie, aka Swamp Scumoid, monster suit from Season 1, Episode 41, Something Fishy.
Part 1, Something Fishy, This Way Comes.
Airing April 17th, 1997, the 41st episode of Beetleborgs seemingly followed the same formula as the previous 40 episodes that we see in most Saban-adapted tokusatsu shows. The evil Magnivores are causing trouble at Charterville Lake, while our three typical average kids play volleyball on the beach, when suddenly, from the murky depths, rises a fish-faced fiend to frighten friends and foe alike. Afterwards, Nano fills the kids in on the legend of Charterville Charlie, a half-fish, half-man beast that reeks of dead sea life and has haunted local shores for generations. A few exploded model kits later, and Roland discovers the truth, thanks to the latest delivery to his family's store, Zoom Comics. In yet another disappointing fight, our heroes dispatch the monster known as Swamp Scumoid back to the comic panels with a simple blast of their sonic lasers. No fuss, no muss, no giant mech battle, leaving just enough time to gaslight Trip as the credits begin to roll. Charterville Charlie or Swamp Scumoid share a special place in the canon of weekly Beetleborgs monsters by being one of the few villains not adapted from the Japanese Juku Beefighter footage, a series from the Metal Heroes franchise that much of Beetleborgs and Beetleborgs Metallics was taken from. This places him in the same family as a Beetle Bros' personal favorite original monster, Amphead, of Episode 18, Monster Rock. It is this originality that set us and many others down the path of discovery we find ourselves on today. While Amphead was, so far as anyone knows, a fully original and perhaps the only fully original monster made solely for Beetleborgs, Swamp Scumoid's origins are a bit more complicated.
Part 2, Ain't No Law But the Craw.
The date is July 9th, 1998. Full Moon Pictures, creators of such cult classic films as the Puppet Master series, Castle Freak, Ginger Deadman, and so many more, have released their second and final kaiju film under the Monster Island Entertainment label. Kraa the Sea Monster follows in the footsteps of Zarkor the Invader, previously released in 1996, also a direct-to-video release. Pulling inspiration from classic tokusatsu and science fiction with its evil Lord Doom, heroic Earth-protecting Planet Patrol, and alien beasts Craw and Magyar, this 69-minute monster mash received little to no attention from the general public upon its VHS release. Keen viewers may notice a striking similarity between this film's titular featured creature and our very own Charterville Charlie. More on that when we get to it. In the effort of full transparency, we will let you know that we have pulled this full synopsis of the Kraa the Sea Monster film directly from the popular kaiju-centric fandom site, the Destroyo Wiki. As even after watching the film all the way through, I just can't bring myself to summarize it any better than they have. The evil Lord Doom dispatches a giant monster mercenary, Craw, to conquer the Earth. A station belonging to the Planet Patrol, an intergalactic peacekeeping organization, detects his arrival. Phew! That took a few points off my sanity meter for the week, which might be par for the course when it comes to watching Kraa the Sea Monster. As Stomp Tokyo stated, quote, "Special effects aside, this material could have been entertaining, but the whole movie is just so inept." Unquote. Sounds right up Beetle Bros alley then, I guess. But Cam, keen viewers must be yelling at their monitors again. Is Craw the same suit as Charlie or not?
Part 3. Almost totally fabricated.
What do these two trope-filled fishmen possibly share in common? Well, that's a bit too simple. They've got the same dad. Born in Jacksonville, Florida, Kenneth J. Hall spent his early years watching movies and acting in school theater. Later, he wrote and produced live shows at the Alexander Brust Planetarium, designed animatronic characters for Sally Industries, and staged promotional events for Plitt Theaters. Moving to Hollywood in 1982, he established himself as a respected makeup effects artist, working on numerous features, including The Terminator, Gremlins 2, Batman Returns, Addams Family Values, and Coneheads. He was shop supervisor at Mechanical and Makeup Imageries, overseeing several productions and a crew of up to 45 people. He has been responsible for the creation of many large movie creatures, among them the 16-foot star of Carnosaur, a 20-foot sea beast for Magic in the Water, and the giant octopus prop in Tim Burton's Ed Wood. During this time, Mr. Hall continued writing, which led to his first screenplay assignment, The Tomb. Other features followed, including creating the original Puppet Master, the first of Paramount's successful direct-to-video series, and Evil Spawn, which he also directed. He developed Ghostwriter, that's W-R-I-T-E-R, writing and directing the syndicated television feature for the Landers sisters. His original screenplay, The Clown at Midnight, starred Christopher Plummer and Margot Kidder. Mr. Hall returned to acting in Rusty Cundife's comedy, Fear of the Black Hat. The same producer-director team gave him the chance to combine his special effects background with his directing as the special makeup and visual effects supervisor / effects second unit director on Tales from the Hood, a Savoy picture executive produced by Spike Lee. In 1995, he formed Total Fabrication, which has been producing outstanding work for a wide variety of clients ever since. In 2008, Mr. Hall was nominated for an Emmy for his costume design on the Nickelodeon kids show Yo Gabba Gabba. In 2019, he started Total Fab Designs. Total Fabrications became one of the go-to freelance creature suit and special effects makeup producers for a variety of Saban productions in the early 1990s. Such greats as the Pod Monsters, Divatox, and the Piranhatron Foot Soldiers from Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, also later modified for the series itself. Trakina from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, the Hero Armors from Mystic Knights of Tirnanog. And of course, Furbus from Masked Rider were all works of Total Fabrications Incorporated. Hall also lent his hand to the Mums and Frankenbeans prosthetics and masks for Beetleborgs itself. Many of these pieces are now in the hands of private collectors after Hall's personal storage locker went up for auction over the past year or two. Thanks to the folks at the Internet Archive and their magical Wayback Machine technology, we can attempt a trip back to Total Fab's website and see the photo gallery showcasing these creature suits alongside our very own Craw and Charlie. This is where we see the descriptions for both creatures under their images. For Craw, quote, title character creature suit with animatronic head, end quote. And for Charlie, quote, waterproof creature suit for Big Bad Beetleborgs, end quote. Now begins the true detective work.
Part 4. Foam Rubber Frankenfish.
When we take a closer look at the two monster suits side by side, we begin to notice the clear differences versus the handful of similarities. Craw's bodysuit features hulking muscles covered in triangular scales with a gray-green paint scheme, while Charlie's is a slimmer, bright green, segmented and fin-covered design more reminiscent of Universal's classic Creature from the Black Lagoon suits. The image on the far left was taken from a 2016 auction where the Craw suit was sold to a private collector, which we'll get to in a bit, and gives a much better look at the monster than the 1998 VHS stills and posters can provide. The head sculpt is where the familiarity begins. The wide bass-like mouth, pointed eyebrows, notable gill fins, and overall head shape are similar enough to understand where the confusion began. Craw is sporting a series of long, sharp teeth, where Charlie's are shorter and more piranha-like. The eyes of Charlie match up more with a wall-mounted trout than Craw's cat's eyes do, and the gill fins have been rounded and colored green for Charlie. After all we've learned about these creature suits' origins, I believe we can start to make a few safe conclusions, and maybe a few less verifiable ones.
Part 5, Conclusions from the Black Lagoon.
I'm going to explain my understanding of Craw and Charlie's histories with an illustrated timeline that hopefully makes a bit more sense after our deep dive into their individual origins. 1995/1996. Kenneth J. Hall and Total Fabrications begin production on the Craw suit for Full Moon Pictures/Monster Island Entertainment. This being a full feature film with multiple effects and a suit that's needed for over an hour of footage, they likely made multiple molds and casts of both the bodysuit and the head. 1996. Total Fabrications is contracted by Saban to produce a lake monster creature to be used in one episode. Not wanting to create a full creature from scratch for such a small job, Hall and crew borrow extra parts from the Craw head sculpt, make them a bit more fish-like and child-friendly, and build a new waterproof bodysuit that could be used with later projects potentially. Side note, contractors like Total Fab were often allowed to keep their suits, or even encouraged to per contracts, with shows like Saban, and then use them in later future jobs. 1998. Kraa the Sea Monster hits store shelves and fails to impress with a lackluster VHS release and no theatrical release at all. 2001. Total Fabrications brings the waterproof Charterville Charlie suit out of storage for an end-of-episode gag on Season 6, Episode 13 of The Drew Carey Show, titled Oswald's Dad Returns. This is a weird one that's a little bit more obscure for you folks who may have not been familiar with this mystery to begin with. The gag features Charlie rising out of the water as actor-comedian Ryan Stiles, playing Louis Kiniski, fishes on a dock wearing a full hazmat suit. Charlie grabs Louis's six-pack of beer as he cheerfully sinks back into the watery depths. This is the last confirmable use of the Charterville Charlie / Swamp Scumoid suit. 2016. The screen-used and thoroughly dilapidated Kraa the Sea Monster suit is sold by monstersinmotion.com for $1,400 to a private collector. This is the last confirmable whereabouts of the Craw suit. 2023. Mazer Patrol, a tokusatsu blog and podcast, posts to Facebook inquiring about this very mystery and thus inspiring today's Beetle Bros Investigation. Looking back on this timeline, we can confirm that the Craw suit was not in fact modified to create the Swamp Scumoid suit, or vice versa for that matter. What is most likely is that the Swamp Scumoid head is a modified mold or cast, or a pieced together Frankenfish sculpt from the early or prototype Kraa the Sea Monster sculpts, while the actual bodysuits are completely different and unique to one another. Knowing that the Kraa the Sea Monster suit reappeared in 2016 to be sold at auction in its full original on-screen glory, while the Swamp Scumoid suit has not been seen since 2001, all but confirms this theory. And with that concludes our very first investigative deep dive. I want to thank everybody who stuck around for the whole adventure. I had a lot of fun digging up as much evidence as possible to find the origins of these obscure 90s creature suits, and I hope you all enjoyed learning about them. I'd like to give a special shout out to Mazer Patrol for inspiring this search, and especially to Xenofauna for helping me break down the physical differences between the two suits when this first came to our attention. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell notification button to always hear when new videos are dropping. Share the video wherever Beetleborgs and Toku nerds are found to help spread the good word of Swamp Scumoid. Is there a Beetleborgs adjacent mystery or topic you'd like to see us investigate further as our next project? Let us know in the comments, and I promise I'll make it my personal hyperfixation for at least a solid week. As always, I've been Cam with the Big Bad Beetle Bros and Stronger Than Before, a Zero Rewatch podcast. You can find me and many other amazing projects at projectlouder.net. You can find the Big Bad Beetle Bros at Beetle Bros Pod on Twitter and Big Bad Beetle Bros Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And you'll find Stronger Than Before at Stronger Than Before Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again for joining us this weekend, and we'll see you next time.